Kathleen.
And I'm Janine. This is part 2 of episode 3 of the From Manhatten to Sisterhood TBR podcast. For those of you who tuned into our show on wmpg on August 10th, thank you for listening. We appreciate it.
Yep.
And if you missed it, I don't think you can listen to it online anymore because it might be gone. So hopefully in the intervening weeks you had time to listen to it in case you missed it on the 10th. Today, we're starting off our podcast by talking about Pride and Prejudice and Bridget Jones's Diary, making a book to movie comparison. So, we read Pride and Prejudice back in May for our Mother's Day episode, and we talked in that episode about how controlling the mom was. Did you find the mom to be as controlling in Bridget Jones's Diary as you did in original Pride and Prejudice?
Yeah, I found the mom to be kind of controlling over the daughter, like she wanted certain things for Bridget, and they didn't necessarily agree. So yeah, if I had to compare the two moms, I would say they were just as controlling, like equally.
Now, to compare the books, how would you compare Bridget Jones to Pride and Prejudice?
I feel like they're similar, but Bridget Jones is more like a modern day interpretation. If you guys haven't seen it, of Pride and Prejudice, it still had those aspects of like the olden
days.
Yeah.
And it was also set in London.
Just like Pride and Prejudice was set in England.
Which love interest did you like better in the movie? Hugh Grant or Colin Firth?
I would have to say Hugh Grant.
Me too.
Yeah, he's always been my favorite male character in that film.
Why?
I think he's cute, and he's
Me too.
Just, like he has a funny personality. Like, he can joke around and have fun.
The other movie that I have seen Hugh Grant in is called Notting Hill with Julia Roberts.
Yep, I've seen that.
Yeah, so he had really good chemistry in that movie with Julia Roberts, and in this movie with Renee Zellweger. So on the list that I found online on Instagram, this book was the character Nina in this book, Malibu Rising, was said to describe Bridget. How do you think Nina describes Bridget?
I feel like it was her family dynamics that they reference in that book, that Bridget Jones' Diary was similar to the Malibu's Rising. That's at least from watching the movie and having read that book.
Yes.
I feel like that's how they can.
Yeah, so Nina is supposed to be the character that's similar to Bridget, and I guess I can see how she could be similar because of like her personality and how she's like the older sister and she has to take care of all her younger siblings when her parents are absent, even though in Bridget Jones's Diary Bridget doesn't really have any children, but
she has a controlling mom.
Right.
So,
and then in Funny Story by Emily Henry, this book was listed as a book that describes Mr. Darcy.
I had a harder time trying to figure out how that described Mr. Darcy.
So like,
if you know, great, but I was kind of stuck on that one.
I think so. So the male character in this book, I would say, doesn't make me think of Mr. Darcy from Pride and Prejudice, but more so Nick Miller from New Girl, which is a modern interpretation of Friends.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love Emily Henry's writing, but I just can't see why that person on Instagram...
I couldn't see the comparison.
Yeah. So this book I recently got for my birthday. This is the second book in a series with Emma of 83rd Street, and it's a modern retelling of Pride and Prejudice that's set on Montauk Beach. And I really love the dynamic of all these characters, and Emma from Emma of 83rd Street shows up in this book as one of the friends.
Yep.
And the thing I like about this book is it makes me think of the Romeo and Juliet episode of Gilmore Girls, because there's a guy character named Tristan.
Yeah.
And he is he organizes the music festival on the beach, and he also gets arrested, kind of like Tristan does when he gets in trouble with his friends.
Yeah.
So I gave this book 5 stars. What did you give Bridget Jones's Diary for a rating?
That one gets 5 stars, but I always enjoy that. I've always enjoyed that book. Like,
yeah, me too.
I like the writing in it.
What about the movie?
The movie has to 9.5 for me.
What about funny story?
Funny story, probably 4.5.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it, but there were some aspects of it that were kind of like...
Like what? What didn't you like about this?
It had a slow beginning.
It did. I agree with
was my
you.
issue.
Yeah.
Me and slow beginnings don't do well, so...
And what about Malibu Rising?
Malibu Rising would have to be a 4.5. Because the family dynamics kind of bothered me a little bit. And
did. Well, because
but I think it was really
the
well
dad
written.
was a whale up because he's a rock star.
Yeah.
And I think the mom
He's
was
kind of on tour a lot.
Yeah.
As a musician.
He's kind of like Mick Jagger, I think he's supposed to be like. So,
But then I feel like the storyline on it's really well written as well. So.
Oh yeah, the storyline in Malibu Rising is very good. I think my favorite contemporary romance authors are probably definitely Emily Henry and Taylor Jenkins Reid.
Yeah.
The next book we're going to talk about is The Fourth Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants book by Anne Brashears. I have read the whole series throughout the past couple of months. I would have to say my favorite book is probably The Second Summer of the Sisterhood, because the movie that we saw is based off of the first 2 books, isn't it?
Yeah, like they kind of combined the first 2 books for the first movie, and then the last book is kind of more like the third book, or the fourth book.
The second movie is when they're in college.
Yeah.
What did you like the best about the fourth book?
How well that the friends stayed together, and they stayed in communication with each other for the most part.
Yeah, I mean...
And they still got together when they could.
And I thought it was sweet how Tibby named her daughter Bailey after the little girl in the first book who she made the documentary with. That was a good way to tie all the books together, but for a spoiler...
It was a nice tribute to...
For a spoiler alert, for people who have not read this book series yet, Tibby does die in this last book, and that was really sad for me and made it hard for me to read, because her death and dealing with the grieving process was like the main focus of the story, and it just put me in a slump for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, I give this series an overall rating of 4 stars, but this book, because of the overarching theme of grief, it just made me too sad, so I gave it like 3 stars. All of the other books were 4 and 5 stars, but this book was 3.
Yeah.
What about you?
I would have to say about the same. It was more like a 3-star read for me, because of the, they lose a best friend and stuff like that. But I think Tibby was kind of the one keeping them all together.
No, and that's what made the book so sad, because she was the one who kept everybody connected, and then once that line of connection is cut, like, everybody drifts apart, and that's what makes it sad.
Yeah.
So, the next book we wanted to talk about today is Shoko's Smile by Choi In-young, translated by Sung Ryu. So I have been on a kick of reading translated works this year. This has been one of my favorites. It's a short story collection about coming of age in Japan, and the characters in this short story kind of remind me of like Rory and Lane and their friendship. Did you feel the same?
Yeah.
So we were recommended this book by Taylor at Diaries of Creativity, and she selected it for her video because she thought that the stories in here were a good representation of Rory and Lane's friendship, and I agree.
I agree. It did have
Did you like this better than Consider the Lobster?
I actually enjoyed it more. I enjoyed it more than Consider the Lobster, because
so did I.
I liked the fact that it was like short stories, but it felt like a novel.
The pacing of this book was much better than Consider the Lobster. Like,
yeah.
I felt like the pacing was too slow, and like the topic of what the essays were talking about was not very interesting. That's why I'm glad we didn't read the How to Ruin Everything. Because as much as I liked reading that the first time because of how the themes of the essays connect to Chandler's character, I just didn't want to put myself in another position where I read another collection of boring essays. Even though I really liked How to Ruin Everything, I think this gave the reading list that we put together a lot more variety. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. It's just better written format. They made it more enjoyable to like actually want to read.
The next thing we're talking about today is the Gilmore Girls episode, season 3 episode 16, the big one. So this is the episode where Rory and Paris are asked to speak at the bicentennial celebration for Chilton Academy.
Yeah.
And it's televised on C-SPAN, and
they have to read a speech or whatever that they combined together from their 2 speeches.
So the night before they're supposed to give the presentation, Paris shows up to Rory's uninvited.
Yeah.
Because they were supposed to meet over the phone to talk about their speech, but she's like, "Oh, I think it's better that we meet in person." So she just shows up.
She just kind of shows up.
She just kind of shows up randomly, uninvited. Let's work on his speeches. But she's very distracted because she just had sex with her boyfriend Jamie for the first time. Her boyfriend Jamie is a college student at Princeton University in New Jersey. Isn't Princeton in New Jersey?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So Paris is obviously distracted, and then the next day when she's supposed to speak on a widely televised special on C-SPAN about the centennial for Chilton, she's extra distracted because on top of dealing with the fact that she just had sex for the first time, she got rejected from Harvard University, which was the college she spent the whole first couple of seasons of the show trying to get into and training Rory to get into. And Rory ends up getting into Harvard and Yale. But,
yeah.
What did you think of how Paris behaved in this episode?
I kind of feel bad for her because I feel like she deserved to have gone into Harvard. So I feel like if it hadn't been for her relationship with Jamie and some of the choices that she made during the episode, she probably would have had a better chance of getting in, since that was only a college that she ended up applying to, and then she ends up going to Yale like Rory does, so they end up in the same college anyways, but yeah. So
I really don't think that Rory deserved to get into to Harvard over Paris because I think
they were both equally.
They were both equally smart. They were both equally on the same page with extracurriculars and everything. Yeah. But we talked on our radio about how we feel Gilmore Girls characters might be neurodivergent, and Paris shows those types of qualities, particularly in this episode, in the scene where she shows up to Rory's house uninvited to work on a speech, because she doesn't really understand social cues or boundaries, and she keeps like interrupting the conversation when Rory is trying to say something.
Topic,
yeah.
Like they were supposed to be focusing on the speech, and she starts talking
about having sex with Jamie. Exactly.
And I think Rory's mother overhears part of it.
And she's like,
when she's in the kitchen.
Yeah. My child's a good one. Actually, that made, when Lorelai said that, "Oh, my child's a good one," even though Paris and Rory could not hear it.
No, right.
That was a moment when I really disliked her as a character, because I feel like she wasn't taking into account that
favoritism.
It was favoritism, because she really should, instead of saying in a monologue, oh, my child's better. She should have figured out a way to help Paris through her issue with...
Or give advice at least.
Give advice to her. Yeah, exactly. Instead of comparing...
Because I don't think that really... Paris really has the advice that she would want to get from her mom, because her mom is so, like...
Her mom is
wrapped up in a bunch of other stuff, so...
Well, and the parents are divorced, too, so she doesn't really have a stable relationship with her parents anyway, because her parents are divorced.
Yeah, so I don't think she really has that guidance of, like, what to do.
Now,
or how to handle the situation.
I have a theory that Paris is related to Monica and Ross, because first name is Geller, last name is Geller, I mean. Secondly... They both have neurotic tendencies. Like, Ross is pretty neurotic with his relationships and how obsessive he is with things being perfect. Like, he wants to have a perfect relationship. So when he finds out Carol is a lesbian, he has a freak out because he really wanted their relationship to last a long time. And then when Rachel is going through all her other relationships... Well, Rachel is not much better with the jealousy, but Ross's jealousy in neuroticism is the worst when she dates Mark in season 3. Because he sends all the gifts to her office and the singing telegram people. I'm like, oh my god, Ross, chill out. And then Monica is neurotic because she has OCD. And I can see a little bit of the OCD in Paris. She's not so hyper-focused on cleaning as she is on... getting good grades. And when Rory is comforting her after her breakdown on Sheetspan, she said, generations of my family have gotten into Harvard. And that's where I tie in this theory that she could be related to Ross and Monica, because maybe if she's saying generations of her family have gone to Harvard, I mean, Monica and Ross could have been in a previous generation, because in the show Friends, it never really says where Monica and Chandler and Rachel and Ross all go to college. They all go to college, presumably somewhere in New York City, but nobody really says where they go.
Yeah, there's no reference to...
There's no reference to where they go, so that's why I came up with this theory that Paris could be related to them, and maybe in the previous generation of Gellers, Ross and Monica graduated from Harvard, and Ross went to graduate school for paleontology, and Monica went to culinary school to become a chef.
Yeah.
So, do you like Paris as a character overall? What do you think about her based on the episodes we have seen up to this point?
I like her. I think there's some aspects where I feel like she's an over-perfectionist on certain things. But I think she only tries to do that because she wants to get good grades. But at first, it's like her character is a little hard to warm up to. But then as you get to know her,
because in the beginning of the show, she like steals Rory's student file from wherever she finds it because she's jealous of her, even though she doesn't even know her yet, but she's threatened by her because she's just as smart as her, which really bothered me. That's what I didn't like about her, but as you just said, you
kind of warm up to her as the seasons go along.
Right.
And you get to know her
And Liza Wheel, I think she's fantastic. She was originally supposed to get the part of Rory, but then the directors like created Paris for her, and I think Paris is a perfect character for her to play.
Yeah. I think she fits that character really well, personality-wise.
Yes. Oh, and I recently found a list on Instagram about characters that describe couples in Gilmore Girls, and it's interesting because Paris and Doyle were matched up for Beach Read, which is a book we're reading next month.
Yeah.
So, do you think that book fits Paris and Doyle?
Yeah, I can... Yeah, I feel like it fits their relationship for sure.
How? Because, I mean, we haven't even gone to the episodes of Paris and Doyle yet, so how do you think January and Gus describe Paris and Doyle? Because I'm having a hard time figuring that out in order to write my review.
I would say it's because they have the similar similarities of like they're in those neighboring beach houses and like, they don't have a lot of money and they have they get the writer's block.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to write they're both trying to write stories.
Right.
Because they're both writers.
So in the case of January and Gus, they're both authors.
Yes.
January writes romance book and Gus writes fiction, and then in Gilmore Girls, obviously Doyle and Paris work for the same newspaper at Yale. Yeah,
they're kind of in that writing aspect. So that's how I related it, was between the newspaper and the,
We haven't seen those episodes yet, but I'm sure once we watch them, I'll be able to make the comparison a little bit better.
I had seen them a while back, so that's the only reason why.
Right.
And then now having read Beach Read, I can kind of compare it in that way.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Okay, so now we're going to be moving into reviewing the 3 Matthew Perry movies that we watched.
Yep.
The first one was 17 Again. To me, 17 Again is a modern version of the classic holiday movie, It's a Wonderful Life. Matthew Perry's character, Michael, is George. The janitor in the school is Clarence the Angel. And then I guess that's where those comparisons can stop. But my favorite scene in this movie is between Michael in his teenage body and Michelle Trachtenberg's character. Michelle Trachtenberg plays Matthew Perry's character's daughter. What's her name again? Maggie. And there's this scene where that's closer to the end of the movie where Michael is comforting Maggie after her boyfriend dumps her, and I just thought that scene between them was so beautiful. And even though Matthew Perry's character is transported into the body of his teenage self, trying to right all of his wrongs that ruined his relationships with his wife and kids, it made me see, just like in the episode of the finale of Friends, where Monica and Chandler go to Ohio to adopt the twins, that Matthew Perry would have been a great dad had he lived.
Yeah.
What did you think of 17 Again?
I just liked the storyline of the 17 Again, like, that, it showed him, like, back when he was in, like the flashback, I guess, so to speak, of when he was in high school, but then he also, being a dad, and just how good he was. And
did you feel that Zac Efron was cast in this movie where he plays a basketball player because of his popularity in High School Musical as Troy Bolton? Because that's what I got. That's the impression I got when I first watched this movie last year. I was like, wow.
No, I feel...
This movie came out not soon after High School Musical was really popular, so no wonder Zac Efron is playing a basketball player. I mean, he was really good in this movie, too, but I mean...
No, but it's kind of funny how those two movies, like, they put him as an athlete, and especially a basketball player. So it's,
The next movie we are going to talk about, starring Matthew Perry in honor of his birthday earlier this month on August 19th, is Fools Rush In, which in his memoir he talks about as being his favorite movie that he ever did, and I agree, it's my favorite movie out of all of the ones I've seen him in, aside from 17 Again and the Ron Clark Story, which we will be discussing next. In this movie, Matthew Perry plays a guy named Alex Whitman, who is a urban developer who builds buildings, and he's building this fancy hotel in Las Vegas, and he meets Salma Hayek's character. Her name is Isabel, and they
fall in love.
They have a one-night stand and get pregnant together, and it's a romantic comedy because, like, the comedy of Matthew Perry, like, interacting with the father and the brothers of Isabel, and they don't really like him, and then The main issue that bothers me about this movie that we're going to talk about right now is in the scenes where Alex introduces his parents to Isabel when they surprise him with a visit to their house because they come home from vacation early. They automatically assume that Isabel is Alex's maid, and they do not know that Alex is actually married.
Yeah.
So I just feel like that kind of miscommunication would not happen today because, I mean, obviously Alex has horrible communication with his parents, and he even tells them to Isabel. He even says to Isabel when they're on their way over to her family's house for dinner, yeah, I don't have a good relationship with my parents. I only see them 2 times a year. It's good that you have a relationship with their family where you see each other more. And,
yeah.
So, and then in the next scene, they're all on a boat for, I guess it's some summer holiday. I think it's maybe 4th of July or something. I don't know what holiday they're celebrating, but they're on the boat in the middle of the lake celebrating some kind of holiday. And Alex's dad, who is played by Matthew Perry's real life father, Mr. John Bennett Perry, he says something really rude to Alex's dad, to Isabel's dad about their Mexican heritage, and I don't know if the fact that they were drinking on the boat had anything to do with why they were arguing. Maybe that was part of it, but I just feel like if this movie came out in 1997, so if it was remade today, obviously it would not be made today because they would not be able to cast the same people because Matthew Perry is dead.
No, right.
But if they were to make a similar movie with a similar romantic comedy plot where there is a white male main character and a Mexican female main character, how do you think they would handle the cultural diversity tensions between the two parents better than they did? If this movie were to be, if a similar movie to this movie
I think there would be more acceptance.
Yeah, me too.
Than the way they showed it in the movie.
Like, maybe if they were to make a more modern version of this movie, it would show their baby, who is born at the beginning of this movie, all grown up and getting married, and maybe, even though Matthew Perry would be dead, I'm sure they would be, I mean, this movie, they couldn't probably make a sequel to this movie either without Matthew Perry, but
it would be kind of hard,
it would be kind of hard, but like, if they were to make a story with a similar plot set in the current time period, where the daughter of the two main characters from the first movie were to have a cultural relationship, I feel like maybe that would be handled a lot better if they were to make a more updated version of Fool's Rush In with more respectful conversations about the Mexican heritage.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it could be similar to the Disney movie Coco, where they have a celebration for a Day of the Dead or something. That way they could, like, honor Matthew Perry in a way, because they could focus around the holiday, the Day of the Dead, and, like, honor Matthew Perry's death, because Day of the Dead is, like, right after Halloween, and Matthew Perry died before Halloween, so, I mean, I don't know if they would ever make a movie like that, but it might be something.
Yeah.
So the last movie we're going to talk about that we watched with Matthew Perry in it is the Ron Clark story. The reason why this is my favorite Matthew Perry movie is because, A, it's based on a true story of a real teacher, and it makes me think of all of the teachers that I had in my past who were inspirational, including my 7th grade English teacher, who inspired my love of historical fiction books, because one of the first historical fictions I read in 7th grade was called Alicia, My Story, which is a memoir of a Holocaust survivor, and she came to speak to us, and now I'm like really, really like, that's my hyperfixation, is historical fiction set during World War II, and I recently reread Alicia, My Story again, and it still holds up. I'm pretty sure Alicia Appelman German is probably dead, because she was really old when she came to speak to us in 7th grade, and then she also came to speak to my sister's class in 2007, so by now she's probably dead. But Matthew Perry was very well cast as Ron Clark. The scenes in this movie that really stand out to me are the President's Rap scene when he's teaching about the presidents. Because when I was in middle school, I did a similar type of rap song for an English project, but instead of talking about the presidents, I talked about the parts of speech. And I might try to recreate that at some point. That might be fun to do. And then my other favorite scene is the scene where his student gets thrown out of his house, and he finds him in the alley, and he basically connects him to the principal to have him live with him. I just think that's another way through his characters that I could see that if Matthew Perry would still alive, he would be a good dad, because in that moment you could tell he was almost like a father to his student Tayshawn, who got thrown out of his house.
Yeah, you wanted to be helpful.
And then
for somebody. And
then the other favorite scene I like is the double Dutch jump roping scene.
Yeah.
What did you like best about this movie?
I like the double Dutch jump roping scene, like you said, and then also I just thought it was really a touching moment where Matthew Perry was helping out his, student that got kicked out of his house because he wanted to be thoughtful and helpful, and just showed you what a compassionate guy he was.
Season of Double House Arts is starting in a couple of weeks. What are you looking most forward to creating in art class?
I know, I haven't decided yet. Whatever inspires me, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be finishing up my fan fiction that I'm going to be selling at the art show in December, and then I'm probably just gonna be doing more watercolor artwork.
Yeah.
And I also can't wait to work on the song lyrics for the fan fiction and do a few more episodes of this podcast, because we still have a lot of great books and movies to talk about.
Yep.
So our next episode will be out at the end of September. That will be end of September, we will be doing a character comparison of Tristan and Jess, and I will be sharing my chapter from my Friends and Gilmore Girls crossover story that I'm self-publishing about the episode Keg Max, which is about the party that Lane's band plays at, that they have alcohol at.
Yep.
And then at the middle part of October, right before Halloween, we were doing our September wrap-up, which we will be talking about Beach Read, Heartburn, Bride, and Freedom Riders.
Yep.
So stay tuned for those videos. Those will be out on September 26th and October 19th.
Thanks.
Thanks for supporting our podcast.